So I want to thank you all for being precinct folks, for being neighborhood organizers. We all know how important the midterms are. I think our decent government's on the ballot. I think democracy's on the ballot. I think due process is on the ballot. I think just a hopeful future for our children's on the ballot. And I want to say, I truly believe you are the most key individuals to turning and building a blue wave in the midterms. Because it's through neighborhoods, it's through face-to-face interactions that we can help people be informed about the election coming up. And there will be people that don't know there's an election coming up, when it is, and what's on the ballot, and help them make a plan. With your canvassing, you're going to be meeting folks and helping them and be informed about what's on the ballot, how to get registered if they're not, where they can vote, and also what are the important dates. And the most influential way that you can get people to vote is people you know. It is those personal connections that you have help people get out and vote. So, and most of you have the little cards here that have a QR code there that takes you to a web page for your precinct. So it will have what's on the ballot on your precinct, and it'll also have where you need to go and vote, where the polling place is. And once we get finalized dates, it'll be there as well. That's still in flux because Republicans are messing with us. But once we get those dates, we'll know when you can do early voting, also information on mail-in voting, and also where you'll be voting on August the 4th. It will also have information, and you can actually QR code it now if you want to. It'll have information on the constitutional amendment or amendments that will be for you on that ballot. There are a lot of great Democrats running for office. You're good there. Choose the one that represents your interests and represents the voice that you want. But in my opinion, the most important vote you'll make in this primary is on the constitutional amendment of how we select Supreme Court justices in this state. What Republicans want to do is do what Elon Musk did in Wisconsin. $20 million he put down to try to buy a judge. And what's on the constitutional amendment here is we want to keep what we have is one of the best merit-based systems where a judge is vetted based on their judicial temperament, their understanding of the law, and also it goes through a nomination process and before the governor. It grew out of the 1950 scandal. There's other important votes, but that's a key one.
Jerry, is it also part of the amendment? I read there was an article in the Kansas City Star and the Wichita Eagle recently about this, and that the judges also can be affiliated, not just the dark money, but they can be affiliated with a group or a political party in a way, and
yes,
they can be
partisan elections.
Are the little postcard size cards, are those updated from our, when you did our
Yes,
first?
yes, I actually updated it this morning as well. But I'm sorry, I don't have one for you. But but if you go to your webpage, I'm trying to use languages of why vote no. And so we have a central committee meeting with some language. It'll probably change as we figure out what messaging works for folks. But it's basically, we don't want our court for sale. We just don't want dark money. We got a great process currently. And what's on the ballot is public school funding, reproductive rights, and fair elections. Because the Constitution protects some of those rights. And the opponents of that want to weaken it and remove that from the judicial temperament of the Kansas Supreme Court. I want to go around the room just so you know who's here among us, because you are, thank you all, you're really key to getting out the vote. And Tad, you want to talk and introduce yourself and also kind of say where your neighborhood is or where your precinct is?
Sure, I'm Ted Permar, and I've been active in a lot of organizations, including the Democratic Party and Sierra Club, Citizens Climate Lobby, things like that, for a number of years. I'm a retired attorney. I was with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka. That was my last job, and did a lot of regulatory and business finance law. But yeah, I've been a lot more active since I retired. Yeah. We live, my wife and I live halfway between Lawrence and Topeka, at the western edge of Douglas County, just north of Highway 40, near Big Springs. We're growing fruits and vegetables now, berries and vegetables, doing that and selling at the farmer's market. And eggs, chickens, yes, eggs too. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Tad. Lori?
Hi, Lori Schlenker. I am PCP for precinct 43, which is over near Free State High School. I'm very new to this, and I would love to find somebody else in precinct 43 that can be a support co-leader. I'm just figuring this out and finally got my youngest off to college, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to do this.
And what I'm happy to do is share with all the Democrats in your precinct, and if there are people you think would be open to helping you, I'm happy to work with you, meet with them to see if they can both help you in your neighborhood, whether they'd help with also canvassing, because this should really be a team effort. So,
And where is precinct 46?
I'm 43.
Oh, 43. Where is
43. It's north of 6th Street, just a tiny little bit east of Folks,
Okay.
and then it kind of wraps around the high school and just north of the high school.
Okay, good deal.
So it's very varied. We have apartments, we have big houses, we have
Senior living.
yes, we have all kinds of demographics.
Yeah.
I'm Kelly Hall, and my husband and I are precinct committee chair people for precinct 48. We're just south of you. So our boundaries are Bob Billings, Wagonfield Road, Harvard, over to Wakarusa. So our polling location is Rev City Church, but it's actually across the street from the end of our precinct, which is an interesting thing because Rev City Church parking lot was where ICE did some coordination. And I think this is an interesting thing to discuss further, is what if churches are being used in this way, and then it's a polling location. So anyway, and I'm a chapter leader for Women for Kansas. We had an event this morning and several of you were at that. Thank you very much. And I'm a retired speech pathologist.
I'm Brad Wallen. We're in 48, the big 48 we call it. I taught for years in Winfield. I started the gifted program in Southwest Kansas back in when it was first mandated in 1980. And then I moved on to teach advanced placement courses and in Western Civ, world history and U.S. history and geography and at times economics. So I did that for altogether for 38 years.
I'm Melinda Levon. I'm the chair of the Douglas County Dems. I'm also precinct leader in precinct number 1, and that's over in the Pinckney neighborhood, kind of right when, basically from the bridges, and then up to about Michigan Street, and then back behind the hospital. So, hi, good to see you. No, welcome.
Hi.
I was also late. I got out of a coalition call around the amendments. I also am chair of the Vote No Kansas campaign. Excited to see how many people in different groups are organizing around the amendments, because it's gonna take all of it and more, just like it did in 2022. One key thing I tell everybody, especially when they're a precinct leader, is, when you look at what is the work this year, we need to look at how many people turned out to vote in August of 2022, and then we can look at how many people in our precinct voted no, And we just need to do that, and maybe a few more. Or if you want Chris Mann to win, he lost by less than 2% last time. So you can go see how many people in your precinct voted for Chris Mann versus Chris Kobach last time. Try to get 2% more people in your precinct committed to voting for Chris Mann. Like, that's how we win these things, one precinct at a time. And I do have plans for what if there are federal agents at polls. I'm not discussing them until the legislature is completely closed off and they can't introduce any new legislation, because they'll take whatever we want to do and make it illegal or harder to do. They love to do that. So there is a plan in place, and we'll talk about it in April. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun thing for different community groups to step into. So I did make a whole bunch of Democrats chant, "No Fed shall touch a ballot" at Washington Day last weekend. A key thing, right? Elections are a state and county thing.
I'm Kate Burke. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is.
Welcome.
That's why we're here.
I guess I'm precinct 24. Okay, and I've decided to draft one of my daughters into helping me. So she's a little more organized than me. So we're somewhere near the Hy-Vee, and my son-in-law is actually running in the primary for Colin McRoberts.
Oh,
yeah.
First district, commercial district.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess I don't have anything to offer.
Yes, you do.
I'm here to learn.
Yeah, I like your hair. You had longer hair when I met you at some other event.
It really depends on my grooming status.
Oh, I
you know.
I feel you there.
I just got a cut yesterday.
Oh,
It's all gonna go to hell in one day.
It's good to see you again.
Barbara?
I'm Barbara Holland, and I am, the precinct is 69, which is, I think the Walkerosa Township. So it is southeast of town, and I can't really describe the boundaries for you, which is really horrible, but it's, if you're heading out and you're going the backwoods way to Baldwin, you're driving through it. So, kind of out there in the southeast corner of the state. I've spent most of my life being a manager of various things. So I'm hoping that those skills will come in handy right now.
Thank you.
I'm Carol Schmidt, and I'm in precinct 55, which is north of town, north of North Lawrence, and kind of around the airport area, and a little west of that, Wellman Road a little ways. And I am happy that I finally got another precinct person, male or I wish they would kind of do away with that, but just have 2 precinct people instead of
Designated gender.
yeah. But anyway, but another body, so that's good. And yeah, I'm a retired nurse. And I've been doing it a little while, but it's good to meet new people.
Thanks. Lori?
I'm Lori Hart. I'm brand new to this. I am in precinct 34, and I couldn't tell you the boundaries, but I can tell you where I live. I live in the Breesdale area, which is off of 23rd and Mass, and so I think it goes back to Prairie Park or Prairie Park Hill is another area. And I am a social worker by trade. I work for KU in the School of Social Work. Students get placements for their internship, and I also teach a class. And excited to learn. I don't have everything memorized, so when I see my name on this, I'm like, oh my god, my name's on this.
You're official now, Lori.
Jerry Jost is like so persuasive. What did I get myself into? I'm happy to be here.
Caroline Groots. I'm in precinct 21, which is south of 9th Street, east of Iowa Street, north of 15th Street, and west of West Campus Road. And I have a very dedicated Democratic base in my precinct, but I work alone. I'm everything when I'm not supposed to be on this list here. I work alone and do it all alone, so I need to get over that hump. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, and that's all I have to say.
Garth?
Well, I'm Garth Burns. I'm in precinct 11. It is, we live just west of Sunset Grade School on 9th Street. And that precinct goes from Iowa to Lawrence, and it goes from 6th Street down to Harvard, yes. It goes down to Harvard. Includes, right smack in the middle of the precinct is the Sunset Grade School and the West Junior High. And our polling location is at the Christian Church out toward Iowa Street.
I made a mistake. I'm south of Harvard, not south of 9th Street. I'm south of Harvard. Thank you for.
And Garth is one of the people we have that does Vote Builder for us, and so you can cut turf for your own precinct. We can teach you how to do it yourself. So thank you, Garth.
So anyway, I've been in that precinct for about 40 years now. I've been a precinct committee person for a long time, but I figured you're never too old to learn something new. So here I am to learn something new.
And we can learn from you as well.
That's right.
Hans?
Hans Carter, precinct 2 with Lois Worth Lopes. Precinct 2 is primarily Old West Lawrence, so it is 6 to 8, Massachusetts to Florida. So I'm the outgoing PCP, so I've been the PCP for the last term, and am here representing my successor, who's Daniel Lastman, who couldn't be here today, he's traveling. So much like Garth, I certainly don't have the experience that Garth does, but wanted to learn some new things so that I can help smooth the transition for Daniel, and I'll be sharing with Daniel all the nuggets that I captured today.
And Tom, I want to thank Tom, I want to thank Lori, and I want to thank Kate for being new PCPs. So and we mentioned Vote Builder. I'm going to be doing a minivan training later, and also I'll meet with you and your team in your precinct. However, but that's a great tool on your phone as you go door to door. I think it's a fabulous tool. So thank you for being part of building the blue wave. And Mary, you want to introduce yourself?
So I'll introduce myself. I'm going to stand up because I'm going to do this part. I'm Mary Pritchard. I am very new to Lawrence. We moved here in July from Lafayette, Louisiana. I also, we're number 1. I'm in Belinda's precinct. I live about a half football field's distance from the heliport and the hospital. So I get to watch the helicopters land and take off. So I am new. Came from Lafayette, Louisiana. I cut my teeth in politics doing a U.S. Senate campaign. I was a stay-at-home mom, and so I volunteered on Andrew Romanoff's campaign against Michael Bennet for U.S. Senate in 2010. And they liked me so much that they hired me. And from then on, I can't pass up a campaign. It snags me every time. And so somehow I get involved. And so I worked in a mayor's race in Denver, worked on a U.S. House campaign in 2018 for moving meth in Louisiana. And Louisiana is my home state. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. My daughter came here to KU. She and her husband got married, bought a house. Now they're expecting a baby in September. And so in July, when I lost my job in March in Louisiana after the election. And then we knew we wanted to come here, so we went ahead and sold our house and came here a lot earlier than we expected because I wasn't working anymore. And so in Louisiana, they don't have precinct captains at all. That's that basic level of organizing, and what I really think is the most important level of organizing. They just skip it. And so I came from Denver, I had been a PCP in the Denver area, and I got to Louisiana, so I'm gonna be a PCP, I'm gonna go to my House District meetings, I'm gonna go to my Senate District meetings, I'm gonna go to my parish, they don't have counties, they have parishes, I'm gonna go to my parish executive committee meetings. Parish executive committee was impossible to find. When they met at a table like this, and if you were a visitor, you could not sit at the table. You sat around the outside of the table. And so I started a precinct organizing program. And I started training people to go out and talk to their neighbors. And so just started doing that. And so I am not here to tell you things that you don't already know. I may have some tricks that you don't know, that you might not have thought of, that might be more comfortable. And I'm also, at the end of the training, I'm gonna offer, in the next 30 days, what are you willing to do? In the next 30 days, I am willing to take 2 hours of my time and canvass with you in your precinct, okay? So what, I'm gonna ask you guys, tell me, raise your hand, tell me what you think a precinct organizer is. What's a precinct captain? What's your job?
Know your neighborhood and do your door-to-door knocking and.
Know when the elections are,
Oh,
because your neighbors don't.
Okay, by a show of hands, how many of you are the person your neighbors call when an election is coming up, or your friends, when an election is coming up, and they say, I don't know how to vote, can you please tell me how to vote? How many people call you and ask you that?
Well, it actually happened for the first time this last, local election. I was really surprised about it.
Yeah.
And actually that happened, and I've been in this precinct since 2017, and that's the first time people reached out to me. That has never happened before.
Yeah, so those are the people you're looking for in your neighborhood. You're looking for, you're looking for people who other people go to know more about the neighborhood. You're looking for that person, that connector in your neighborhood. If it's not you, or if there's another one like you, that's what you're looking for in your precinct. So, precinct organizing is not just for elections, and it's not just for election years. We should be doing this on a monthly basis, at least checking in with the people you've talked to, right? So you go out and you canvass. If you're in a rural area, I know there are a couple of people in rural areas. Who's in a rural area? Right here. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. If you're in a rural area, you might email, you might get on the phone, you might show up at a local space where people show up. And two, it just occurred to me, if there is a place close to where you are in the town, then start doing coffee like the Douglas County Dems do. Let's do some more rural coffee hours, right? That might be a good thing to do too in a rural area. Or like candidates do, have focus groups come and invite the Democrats in your precinct and have them come to one place, like a meet and greet that you would have for a candidate. Let's do a meet and greet for the Democratic Party in the area. So that just occurred to me. And so you're also trying to recruit people so that you're not the only one doing this, right? This is hard. And if you have, in September, I'm not gonna do a campaign because in September, I'm gonna have a grandbaby. And I quit my job, I quit school, I dropped out of college when I had my daughter. And so I might be a little distracted. So, so all those things that distract us, let's make sure that, you have a team of people in your neighborhood. So I'm gonna tell a little story about precinct organizing in my precinct in Louisiana. I lived in a neighborhood, an older neighborhood, maybe a little bit like Breezdale, where knocking doors, and Louisiana I lived in the reddest congressional district in the country. Clay Higgins, the lone no vote for releasing the Epstein files, was my rep. He's got a Bible and a gun, and he calls himself the Cajun John Wayne. And so, knocking doors in my neighborhood, so it's a relatively nice neighborhood, older homes, and knocking doors. And one of the things that was really remarkable to me is that there were at least 5 retired women in their 70s and 80s who said, I didn't know any Democrats lived in my neighborhood, in this neighborhood. And so what I ended up doing was connecting them with each other because they had all worked. And so they hadn't made a lot of hadn't built relationships in the neighborhood. They all worked, and the 5 of them were the best thank you note writers for candidates. They were, you know, depending on what their role was in their life, they got together monthly, had coffee, wrote postcards. When postcards started to become a thing for candidates, for swing states, for moms out front, they got together and they had relationships that they had been missing. One woman cried at the door. She said, I don't know anybody in this neighborhood, I always worked. And so that is what you can do as a precinct organizer, is you can connect people. Democratic cyclists, Democratic runners, Democratic bakers, you know, think of things that are not, that wouldn't occur to you, and you want to try to really and truly put people together who have common interests, and then you build phone trees, you find, it's relational organizing, and that is really and truly, I think, it makes me feel good to think that this room full of people is willing to go out and talk to their neighbors and build relationships in their neighborhood. Because Lawrence, Kansas is full of front porches. There's a front porch on every house on my street and on Michigan Street. Go sit out in the front yard. Who has a community garden in their front yard? Or who gardens in their front yard? Gardeners that can help you out. So these are all ways to connect with people. And that, and really and truly to me, is what precinct organizing is. It is not only door knocking, it's not only for campaigns, and it is not only one person. It is not only one person.
Right, we're supposed to be the chairperson of the precinct,
You're
not
the captain.
only person.
Dwight Eisenhower said that his most important job he ever had was to be a precinct captain. He didn't live in Louisiana. So let's see, don't go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about safety. You know your neighborhood, and I hope that you feel safe in your neighborhood. In rural areas, I think about this too. I think about the vote builder. So Garth will know, you can pull a list, and they do, Lawrence is a big enough market that they do a lot of media, market research. So they can do a poll and say, how many people do you think own a gun? Do you really want to go to that door? You can actually, if that was a thing for you, then you could pull a list that said, you know, how likely are they to be gun owners, churchgoers, anti-choice. So there are all kinds of things in the vote builder. So your list will be the easy stuff first. You get the easy stuff first. So you want to pull a list of high propensity voters, people who vote in most elections, that are Democrats, and then grow your universe from there. So you can start off with the very easiest people in your precinct. And then with their relationships, well, yeah, I live in a rural area, but I know the next farmer, and we've been talking about chickens, and I really think they would be open. Let's check and see if they're a Democrat, right? So you can find these things out through the vote builder. The vote builder is a really good tool for making your list really tailored to you. Did you have a question? It looked like you were about to say something. Okay, thanks, Carol. And then you're going to build a volunteer list in your precinct so that you're not doing this by yourself. And then I just talked about the, and you want to report accurate data, because the vote builder is only as good as the information you put in it. And that information will pay off for candidates, and it will pay off for the next PCP, and it will really and truly help your campaign. And then this is a voter education effort, right? We are trying to make sure that voters know what's on the ballot and what's going on at the Capitol. So evidently a number of us were at Kifa Day on Tuesday, and then Healthcare Day was on Thursday. You know, so those are things that if you, in Louisiana, I can go to the Capitol, and the only thing I have to do is take my pocket knife out of my purse so that I can get in the door, and then I can go to the committee room of the bill that I want to testify on, and I can fill out a card on site and testify. In Kansas, how many, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, they changed it so that you have to have your comments in 48 hours ahead of time. You have to have a certain number of printed pages or
Some of
printed
them have
copies.
cover sheets.
Yeah, they have to have a cover sheet. It has to be formatted a certain way. I saw the list of the Senate Bill 363 on Thursday. I saw the list of proponents, neutral, and opponents. And the proponent got to talk for almost 40 minutes. And there were 2 neutral that spoke, and then this long list of people who were opposed to the bill. And it, and so it feels like it doesn't matter, because they can't pack a room with people who are gonna talk and talk and talk and talk. In Louisiana, it's kind of like a filibuster. So roles, possible roles in your precinct. You're the precinct captain, you can have someone be the volunteer coordinator and hold all that information. So if you get somebody else that is willing to volunteer, maybe doesn't wanna knock doors, we wanna play to people's strengths. Some people are not gonna be comfortable knocking on doors. Some people may feel uncomfortable to start. My best door knocker in Lafayette, Louisiana is the president of the League of Women Voters of Louisiana, and she did not wanna knock doors. And she started knocking doors, and she recognized the utility of precinct organizing. And she knocked more doors probably than most people that I did the training with. And so people who can help you with data, people who want to canvass, and then hold events in your precinct. If it's just coffee with 5 retired women, if it is a group of social workers that all are, talking about maybe legislation that is happening in the legislature. So those are rules that you can do. So you're not a hero, you're a team. And then to retain your volunteers, you gotta make sure that you thank them, that you sit down with them. I called up Melinda and said, hey, I'm in your precinct, and she came over to my house and I fed her some gluten-free cake. I didn't even know.
Yes, you really nailed it.
So
Gluten-free pear cake.
yeah, it was phenomenal. So anyway, I got some really good pears at the farmer's market. And so relational organizing, so you're gonna bring your daughter-in-law to help, but your daughter, but when you meet people that you're canvassing with, if there are other people who live in your precinct, that's super useful because you can then build that team. But also, if they live outside your precinct and there's not a precinct captain, so there are many, many, many orphan precincts that don't have precinct captains at all. And so, so that's something down the road, when enough people are doing this, we can then go and adopt our next door precinct, right? Or our next door, we have orphan counties in Kansas that don't have an organized Democratic Party. So right here, this is a core group of people who are doing something so incredibly important, because you are organizing at the very, very bottom of grassroots. We're like springtime in the Democratic Party. So let's see, start close to home. Do you have family members in your precinct? Do you have friends already in your precinct? Okay, and then I want you to think about groups that meet in your precinct, especially if you live in an urban precinct in the downtown area, you're gonna find groups that meet around town, even if you're just having lunch, dinner, or coffee somewhere. The scum lady, where we have the coffee. Those are places that you wanna start looking for, groups that you notice meeting in places. So you want to, I forgot my hearing aids today, but I can spy on people with my hearing aids, because I can turn off this ear and I can listen over here. So if you hear someone having a great conversation, then approach them. In Louisiana, I would never have done that. I would not wear a t-shirt that had a message on it that was controversial. I did not have bumper stickers on my car, and I love bumper stickers. I will not put bumper stickers on my car because I drive from Lawrence to Lafayette, Louisiana through the Ozark Mountains. And so I will not put bumper stickers on my car. But look, if someone has good stickers, ask them what they're doing. Ask them what they're doing. Ask them, if they live in your neighborhood, knock on their door. They might be an unaffiliated voter that's on your team, right? So, and then faith communities and local businesses. And this right here, this Grow Your Universe part of this packet, I want you to think about a power map in your precinct. Are there businesses in your precinct that might host an event, that might donate food or beer or, for an event? Whether it's for the party or whether it's for a candidate, what are those local places that really and truly build some power in your precinct, okay? That really and truly help you to organize. And then, like I said, don't ask people to go outside their comfort zone, but let them explore, definitely. And so I told the story about the retired women, and make sure people know the expectations. The expectation of a precinct captain is to go and knock doors in your precinct, knock on Democrats' doors and educate people about elections. Not about candidates, just about elections. Follow up with people, make sure they know that there's some kind of volunteer appreciation. Maybe the party does a volunteer appreciation event for, volunteers.
Our watch party for both August and November
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
free to attend.
There you go. And I'm one of the planners for that, so it'll be fun.
And we're gonna be open an extra hour later this year because we noticed that, especially in big turnout years, the election workers, it takes a couple of hours
Yeah.
to finish, close the box, lock it, and get it transferred and everything
Right.
before they're really free and their job
Uh-huh.
and day is done. And so we wanted to make sure we're open until 11 so they can come in for that free drink because they earned it. So.
And give people volunteer based on their values. And so make sure that that people are aware of what you value. And there's a new kind of canvassing that they're doing. It's called deep canvassing. And deep canvassing is actually a values-based canvassing technique where you listen. You ask on a scale of 1 to 10. So Kelly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being not likely at all, 10 being definitely you are going to vote in August. What's a good number for you?
10,
10. Why is 10 a good number for you?
because the constitutional amendment will be there, and I'm gonna cast my vote against it.
All right, so can you tell me a little bit more about the vote, why you're against it?
Because I want our state Supreme Court justices to be independent and not tied to any political party or funded by any political party and that's, right now, we can see that that's where the battles are occurring is in our court systems.
Yeah, definitely. So you can go on in a conversation like this, and you can tie a story that you have to their story. And statistically, these conversations are twice as sticky as going to the door and handing someone a palm card and saying, don't forget to vote. If you have these conversations, people will remember your face, and these are at least 8 to 12 months. They'll stick for 8 to 12 months, not 2 or 3 months. You get a palm card, you might put it down on your table. I will put it down on my table for a little while. I may read it, I may not, I will recycle it. And I probably will not remember the person that brought it to the door. People will remember you if you can connect your story and your values to theirs. So that is a really and truly important part of this. Is really and truly, we can go and hand things out at the door, absolutely. We can put cards on the door, we wanna do that, because we'll get people the people who call us back, or who send us an email, are the ones who are gonna volunteer. So, and what did I say there, strong precincts build leaders, and so we don't want to just have the captain be the leader, we wanna have people who lead in where their strengths lie, okay? And that is values, the values-based organizing is actively listen, and if there's conflict, recognize that there's conflict and don't ignore it. Don't ignore the conflict. And it's not just agreeing to disagree, but recognize if there's conflict. There's a really good organization that does regular trainings on deep canvassing. It's, I'll remember the name of it in a second now, and then I'll give you the information, because I've just finished an entire series of trainings with them that I've done twice. So, Deep Canvas Institute. The Deep Canvas Institute is fantastic, and they will give you great tools to use for deep canvassing. And so you center on listening, dignity, trust, and community. And these things are these values, right? Ask open-ended questions. I'm thinking about building an app that tells you whether or not you're asking an open-ended question, because I think that would be a really fun exercise. And then build trust over time. I have a checklist here for active listening. And then, so ask open-ended questions, avoid interrupting, paraphrase what you heard, reflect values, not arguments, stay calm and respectful, and do not debate. And so, precinct organizing is about building a better community in your neighborhood, in your precinct. And so it's just to me, I think it is incredibly important. And so, I'm gonna ask you to use the QR code to fill out the survey, but I'm also going to ask you, what, in the next 30 days, what are you committed to doing? And I want you to think about it, and I want you to take that time to fill out, you don't have to do the whole thing, but, think about in the next 30 days, what you're willing to do. And if it is canvassing with Mary Pritchard or this meeting with Mary Pritchard, I am absolutely willing to come and knock doors, with you, and you can sign up here. Okay? So we'll do this at the end of the time, but take your time and go ahead and, what's your 30-day commitment? And then I'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes to think about it. Fill out some of it if you want to, save it for home, but I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to think about it. We'll pick up enough people that will start knocking doors with you. And you don't have to knock doors over and over again, you don't have to knock the same doors. If you feel like it would be useful to knock that door again, then you should, and you should use your discretion. And then as you grow your universe, there are more people doing the work. And there may be people that are meeting for coffee, or getting out and riding their bikes together, or trail walkers, or horseback riders, or farmers. So, that might meet and, in places that are comfortable for them. And so that's what I would say about that, is that you knock on doors, and you wanna hit every Democrat in your precinct. And some of you have, in Louisiana, that's super easy. But some of you have a really, it's a really, it's a tall bill.
Well, and in our precinct where we live, we have, about 30% of the registered Republicans are the type of people that are just there they have one of two strategies, right? Vote for the most extreme Republican to make the Democrat on the ballot seem more reasonable, or vote for the more moderate Republican just in case they win. Of course, that cancels each other's votes out, so it's not a good strategy, if you will. But they will vote for Democrats in November. But they exist, and we still need to talk to them about the amendments. And
Oh, absolutely.
So are you suggesting then that we should also, because I've heard always diverse on this, don't knock on Democrats' doors. In my precinct, I am intending to knock on unaffiliated. I do know in my precinct, there's a strong segment that's probably registered Republican, but will vote Democrat. So I usually don't touch the Republican doors.
You know what I would do? I would ask Garth to pull a list of people pull a list of registered Republicans, and then think about some of the more, but they have said that they are pro-choice. Or they said that they are,
there's a pro-choice score, and there's also just the DNC support score.
So I guess I've never worked with that scoring part. So how do you get the score on your list?
It's just an option inside of Vote Builder.
Yeah.
Build the list.
Way down.
Yeah, it's way at the bottom. Yeah, but you can choose party, you can choose age, you can choose registration date, you can choose by zodiac sign. You can, which every now and then I think, maybe we should do that. Ask all the Capricorns, like, are you anxious about voting? Because we know we are.
I mean, I know. You just get all of this information on people from, how do you
Great
know?
question. So inside of Vote Builder, which is the Democratic Party's
and Laura might not be familiar with Vote Builder.
Are you familiar with Vote Builder? No.
Yeah.
So Vote Builder is the Democratic Party's voter database that we use, and it has information from the county parties that go from county election offices to the Secretary of State. They send it to the national Republican and Democratic and other parties, and then it filters back down. In the Democratic Party's database, we also have a lot of consumer data, like our DNC support score, or how likely is a person to vote for a Democrat versus a Republican in a general election. the score is based on 13 different commercial databases, and it's all commercial data. And I know this sounds crazy, but it's true, and it's very weird. I do know your score does drop a couple points if you buy a gun, but if you go back, it goes back up if you give any money to like MoveOn.org or to a Democratic Party candidate. My score is usually 98 or 99 because I'm never going to vote for a Republican. So it's weird that it's based on consumer data. I don't know if I bought like an $80,000 truck, would that drop my score? It would a little, for at least a little bit. So we have also the pro-choice score is based it's not based on the actual Vote No Kansas canvassing work, but it is incorporated into there. I don't find it as accurate as.
Where did they get the data? Where if it didn't come from the Vote No?
Absolutely. Oh, well, even the Vote No stuff. Everything that we do digitally leaves a footprint, and somebody buys that data and sells it.
Well, it's like geofencing. When you go, if you shop in a certain area, then you'll get ads for that area. So they're collecting that data from geofencing. If you use the Wi-Fi in places, if you're,
So what do they call this vote bill, the one that's based on commercial?
The DNC support score.
DNC.
DNC. I think it's the Democratic National Committee, right, or the feds of our party, right? So that's what
So
it was
it's
called.
based on where, information on what people have purchased or contributed to, basically, is that kind of what they try to look for. And so that's part of the.
Big brother at work here.
Yeah.
Well, make it work for us.
But
Yeah.
Because we do want to
That's
identify
That's the point.
people who are registered Republican, but a long time ago, people would be registered Republican because there weren't any primaries in the Democratic Party, that you didn't have a lot of Democrats running against each other in the primary because they weren't gonna probably get elected anyway. So people would register Republican, so they'd at least be able to vote for someone in the primary. But they were voting Democrat a lot in the election.
I do hope people incorporate, like when we do talk to unaffiliated voters, it's important for them to know that we have serious Democratic Party primaries at multiple levels and in multiple offices this year. And so if they are frustrated with the Democratic Party because they feel like, oh, the party just tells us who to vote for, or some of these things that people have said over the years, the party insiders pick the candidates, etc. This is their opportunity to vote for a Democrat that they like better. And so a lot, about half of our unaffiliated folk vote Democrat. They're with us in, most things. But this is their opportunity to participate.
I forget, so, for the amendments, can unaffiliated vote?
That's a great question. So everybody will get to vote on the amendment. So let's say I'm a libertarian, we have our convention in April, that's how we pick candidates in the Libertarian Party, and I'm gonna show up in August though and just vote, and all I will see is amendments, right? If I'm a Democrat or Republican, I will see my primary people, including precinct committee people, right? This is where we get elected in August. All the way up to the US Senate race, the congressional races, all of that will be on our ballot, and the amendments, right? And same thing for the other parties, the leading
They don't want to declare
right,
a party.
yeah, they don't wanna declare a party and just.
So we might go knock on those doors.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
We definitely need to knock on the independents at some point to tell them, hey, you can still vote in this primary.
Well, especially so many of them are progressive, and we actually have some more and some less progressive
A
Democrats.
lot of young
running.
people don't, a lot of young
Absolutely.
people
Sure.
are unaffiliated.
So you're saying an independent could declare at the primary for to be a
Unaffiliated,
Democrat?
independent is a party, unaffiliated is a.
We only have unaffiliated in Kansas.
Yeah.
And they
Unaffiliated.
could declare right then and there, I'm a Democrat and go in the Democratic Party.
That's right.
But then they can change back to unaffiliated, but it's within a particular window.
They could go to ksvotes.org and do it in the parking lot right after
After
they
they
voted.
vote, yeah.
And as soon as the election's over and each county does its canvass, then they take all the voter registrations that came in after the last cutoff and update them. Cause all kinds, every now and then people go, no, I'm not a Republican, or I'm not a Democrat, and they re-register as they vote or something, and so then they update them all. So if they never wanna be listed as a Democrat, they should immediately re-register unaffiliated, and it'll,
But I thought,
declared, you cannot hop parties once the voter registration cutoff has occurred.
30 days.
It's been 21, but we don't know what it's gonna be yet, because there are multiple election bills with conflicting dates that they still might pass, so we won't know final dates until March 28th in the legislatures.
and then if anybody switches from unaffiliated to Democrat, then they vote in the Democratic primary, and then you can put that as a parameter in your vote builder search. People who voted in the Democratic primaries, and then you'll catch a bunch of if you want your unaffiliated list, that's your unaffiliated list. If they change back to unaffiliated or something else,
Yeah, you
they
can
voted
pick
in a
people that
Democratic
voted
primary,
in
and it might be a
Democratic
Republican,
primary.
it might be a Republican, it might be a Republican leaning person, but you'll find out at the door. So, okay, so I don't wanna keep anybody too
Sorry,
long.
question?
Go ahead.
One question too after this, I have one quick clarifying question, but.
So, like a lot of you around the room have all this information in your brain that you're pulling out, and I think about all the stuff that we're gonna need to talk to people about. Is there, like on the Democratic, on our website or somewhere, talking points, or is there things that help us when we're organizing, the best things to say? Not, beyond this, but just the best things to say about certain people, issues.
Sure. So inside of Minivan, which is an app on the phone that we use, that is where you send a voter list that people make in Vote Builder. Whether you make it yourself or somebody like Garth makes it for you, he can just send it literally to your phone in your Minivan app. And inside of there, there will be scripts, there will be dates and things like that for you to be able to look at. Some people, I don't know, some people write scripts very long, so there's a ton of information in there, but as a door knocker, I have never followed a script, ever, right? I wanna introduce myself, I wanna ask them what's important to them, and then if they have a question, I can always, scroll through it and say, I can look that up for you.
Oh, that's
You
nice.
know, but there'll be some of
There
that
will be some sort of
inside.
script
Yeah.
for you to follow.
And I just don't wanna, if they have specific questions and I don't know everything,
Yeah.
knowing what I don't wanna just kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can note the question and then
I'll get back
go
to you.
home,
Yeah.
finish the day,
Mhm.
and then go home and find the answers to those questions
Sure.
from all of our sources here. The Democratic Party knows lots of stuff, and then get back to them. And I tell you, they will really appreciate it if somebody
People
comes
love a
back and
follow-up,
follows
and
up.
you
Yeah.
have to ask them for their phone number and
Yeah.
their email and put it in the vote builder.
And then you can follow up. But I think our
But it helps you
precinct,
to contact them.
I think our precinct pages are also just gonna be really useful, because as we develop, the final information for this amendment versus amendment 2, 3, 4, however many there might be, we can have that on a frequently asked question page and things like that that are shared across all the pages, so that we all have that on our own precinct page.
I just want to say that I'm happy to meet with you individually, to build your team, to grow your universe, to figure out what the roles might be, to show you how to use Minivan, and how the party, an important role that you all have is you are an ambassador for the party. You're the eyes, ears, the face of the party in your neighborhood. You're a feedback, to us as a party, okay? So that's an important role too. So this is all about relationships as well. You, on that QR code in your precinct, you have a webpage. And if you're a PCP there, your name and email's there. If you want to have your photograph there, you can. If you want to personalize the banner photograph that looks like your neighborhood, just send it to me. Tell me how you want to make it look like you and how you want to communicate with those folks around you. And I'm going to get with Mary, and also I'm really intrigued with this whole thing about power mapping in a neighborhood. Who are the social connectors in ways in which people know other people, or organizations that can help you get the word out? In North Lawrence, we have an improvement association, we have a school, we have businesses, we have churches, Sanctuary Alliance is there, Ballard Center is there. Mary, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, good deal. Democracy's benediction. We are democracy. Unruly, unfinished, unrelenting. People of rebellious joy taking to the streets. Underground resilience, resisting complacence. The pleasure of activism, organizing into simple hope. We are democracy. People of principles taking on principalities, witnessing the worth of those called unworthy. Justice just now gaining ground. Integrity of interdependent existence, extending living democracy in heads, hands, and hearts. We know that democracy can die, ossify. Brittle byproducts of bygone idealists, plotting politicians, pirating votes, corporations cannibalizing our care for the world. Look, it can wither, distend, and come to an end. Democracy today, we will love you alive, make you ours, make you thrive, and vote as though our hope is on the line. And that is written by Lucas Herget.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you all for part of the Blue Wave. It's a part of what we're doing. This is for our future generations, and we're doing it for our neighbors. Thank you so much. Also thinking about